So about half a year ago, I shared my feedback about the production version of the Louqe Ghost R1. And yeah, that wasn't good. Since then, Louqe had, surprise, ghosted me. But yeah, there's some new developments to share. Welcome to Machines and More. So, disappointing news. Louqe Sweden, Louqe, does not seem to be in business any longer. As of now, they haven't renewed their domain registration since March 18th of this year, so you can't get on their site or email them, and it's still a little bit hazy at this point since this is all relatively new, but I haven't been able to reach anyone there either. They've also filed for bankruptcy again on April 1st, which is just a few days ago, and that's actually no joke. It actually happened. So a little background, many years ago, at one point, their Ghost S1 was one of those special, it cases. There was even a unique Louqe L12 that was designed for the S1, and over time that design stagnated. They were working on an updated one for a very long time that hadn't materialized. They tried a few things with their raw lineup of cases, but things ultimately didn't go very well. In early 2024, they filed for bankruptcy, which, companies do sometimes. They're forced into that position to restructure. So I went back to my emails and just reviewed the timelines here just to make sure I'm giving you the right information. In 2024, they announced the R1 case, which was a traditional layout 17.5 liter case. And I, at the time, was communicating with an employee there. I don't want to name any names. We probably know the main employee that I'm talking about. Since he's pretty much the one that seemed to be doing all the communications with customers and media and all that. So he sent me one to review. I was really appreciative at that point. Seemed like a great individual to work with. At the time, they were starting to take pre-orders on it, and it was a validation version. I reviewed it. It actually worked pretty well, although there were some understandable pre-production hiccups there. But I share feedback on that with all of you, and to them directly, just to see how they could, refine things and get the project coming along a little bit smoother, because it really seemed promising. After a month or two of that, the founder or the owner that's listed in the bankruptcy proceedings, this gentleman asked for that case to be sent back to them after my review, which, seemed perfectly reasonable. Although now I completely understand why an outlet such as Gamers Nexus has a policy to not send samples back, because companies sometimes take that as an opportunity to just sweep things under the rug and, conceal things like it never happened. And in hindsight, I kind of wish that I hung on to it just to serve as a better side-by-side comparison tool to that production version that I later received, as well as for documentation purposes. Now, fast forward to early 2025, I actually didn't hear anything from them after getting a shipping label from them back in August 2024. So no, hey, thanks for sending it back. How can we do such and such to make it better? No, nothing, just radio silence. And at that point, I reached out to them a few months later in early 2025. That email bounced. And that kind of coincided with their website going down last year, but that was just a short while. Sometimes people forget to renew. It's completely understandable. But yeah, I didn't hear any response until August in 2025 last year. And they announced some updates, and they called it a Mark II, which, naming was kind of odd given that there wasn't a retail available Mark I. But they offered to send me the production version to take a look at and share my feedback. They were starting to fulfill the retail orders at this point. And keep in mind, prior to this, the entire time they had been taking pre-orders, taking people's money before the item was really ready. And to me, it felt, kind of Kickstarter-y, and I did have a bad feeling about this arrangement. But ultimately, I received a sample, and in hindsight, that's when it truly felt like the beginning of the end, because this was bad. I ended up not being able to assemble it. Maybe you saw the video, and now my intention is never to sensationalize things like this. That's not what I do on this channel, but I gave it what I feel was a fair and objective commentary, calling out those issues and why I couldn't assemble it. And my goal is always to deliver on facts and give the community a good perspective on things. And I felt like I did that in a respectful way. Now, I could have fixed this case myself to make a buildable case, but I really didn't want to spend time to do that when the quality was not there. Plus, I had other pressing priorities at the time. But separately, I told them, hey, this is not good. I'd like to properly review this case. I have high hopes for it. And when you're ready, please, let's fix it. But don't spend your resources now to fix mine. You basically have a lot of people waiting to have their issues addressed. So please help them. Make sure to make these customers whole, give them the parts that they need, and let's finish up this project when you're ready. And that was the last time that I talked to them. And I'd say in general, they were, quite respectful in communication. Just the long intervals of silence and the cadence of things was pretty challenging to work with. Since then, they've been up to all sorts of ambitions, talking about the Mark III of this case, teasing an S2 separately, and offering unhappy customers a so-called redemption kit to try and patch things over, and the list goes on. I was very disappointed to hear that there were still a lot of customers that weren't made whole, and in fact, a lot of you, chimed in on my review just to say that. So in mid-March, this year, just a few weeks ago, that employee left Louqe, and maybe they saw the writing on the wall, or maybe that wasn't out of their control, but that coincided with the time that their website went down. And it has been a few weeks, more than what we can consider just forgetting to renew the domain. And then just a few days ago, the bankruptcy thing was unveiled. To add to further confusion, they posted this very vaguely worded statement up on their official Facebook page very recently. Now, I just saw this, like half a day ago. What is that? An R1 box? Seriously, even reading between the lines, I have no idea what this means, especially that part about people who have prioritized personal gain. I think fact of the matter is these are mainly just customers, or they're all just customers who were promised one thing. They were actually really excited about this case. There was a lot of interest in this thing. And ultimately, they didn't receive what they ordered. Some folks never even got anything at this point, not even a broken case. So seriously not sure what that's supposed to convey. But I really do feel bad about, what's happened here. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but in all likelihood, Louqe is gone. And we are hearing from the Louqe ghost from this point on. All right, so what can you do if you're an unlucky customer? Either your case hasn't been fixed or you never got jack. This is not a personal finance or a financial advice column, of course, but in my experience, the best thing right now to do is to contact your credit card company immediately. And depending on your locale and your bank's policies, there may be a time limit to dispute that transaction. So do not wait to do any of this. I know some of you paid a while ago, so most of the time that's going to be 120 days to a year after that charge. So what I recommend is to have your order documentation, any communications with Louqe properly documented. Take a screenshot of the bankruptcy notice and very simply state, hey, I ordered a case, I didn't get a case, or I got a case that was non-functional. I am disputing this charge. And feel free to forward them this video as a reference, demand a full refund and to be made whole. And, that's your best course of action. So originally this did seem very promising, and I hoped it would materialize into a case that would rekindle the Louqe of yesteryear. If you are still after a similar sized case and layout, there is an alternative that is quite good in the Ncase M3. There's plenty of content here on the channel about it. Make sure you're subbed because there's a lot more content coming. But versus M3, at the onset, the R1 already was losing on quite a few elements like mini-itx compatibility, and the finish quality was significantly better with the M3 than what I had seen with the R1. And if you're willing to go a bit bigger and wait a little bit, the upcoming Louqe B4 does seem quite promising as well from a reputable company. So unfortunately, very disappointing. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but just keeping you all informed. Feel free to share your experience below, and that's going to do it for now, and I'll see you in the next one.